And we are recording.
All right. Good morning. I guess I should say good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nancy Isserlis. I'm the Vice Chair of the Washington State Public Disclosure Commission, and I'm the presiding officer for today's hearings. Today is Thursday, May 19th. It's a little after 2 o'clock. This hearing is being conducted under the authority of RCW 34.05, the Administrative Procedures Act, WAC 390-28, and RCW 42.17A, the Campaign Disclosure and Contribution Act. This hearing is being held, hopefully, by Microsoft Teams teleconference, and thank you all for participating in this method. I think this is the first time we're using it, so it's a little experimental, but we'll just get through this. The proceedings are being video and audio recorded. Today I will hear a number of matters in brief enforcement hearings. The staff has provided a written record for each of the cases that are on the docket today, and each respondent has had an opportunity to either appear in writing or in person or by phone. And if there have been any written submissions, I have reviewed them before the start of the hearing today. So the first order of business I'd like to do is call upon the three staff members from the Public Disclosure Commission who will be presenting matters on behalf of the PDC. Please introduce yourselves, and then I will swear you in. We'll start with Tabitha.
Which one?
You, the one that's talking.
Oh, okay. I'm Tabitha Blacksmith. I'm a compliance coordinator at the PDC.
And I'm Tabitha Townsend. I am a compliance coordinator with the PDC.
I'm Jordan Campbell. I'm a compliance coordinator with the PDC.
And for those of you that will be presenting testimony today, I'd like to swear you all in, so please raise your right hands. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, and under the penalty of perjury and the laws of the state of Washington?
I swear.
All right. The way that this will proceed today is that the staff will first explain the PDC's case and provide any additional information regarding any respondent's compliance history. There are a number of different categories, so we'll just take them in the order that staff has presented them to me. I'll ask the staff to state whether the respondent is participating in the hearing, and if so, whether it will be live by teleconference or in writing. At the time of each individual hearing, and I'll call the hearing before we start, I will swear in the respondent if the respondent is present, and give the respondent a chance to offer any testimony or comments that they may have. So I've placed all the staff under oath. Tabitha, I'm not sure who wants to go first, but let's go according to the docket and the order that they have been listed. Are there any? Yes, Tabitha.
I'm sorry. I'm going to present the overview first, and then we would get into the participants. Is that okay?
That's perfect.
Okay. I will do that now. So today's brief adjudicative proceeding, or BAP, concerns lobbyist employers whom PDC staff allege have violated RCW 4217A 630 by failing to file or timely file a lobbyist employer's annual report, or L3 report, for 2021 that was due to be filed with the PDC no later than February 28, 2022. PDC staff emailed lobbyist employers reminders regarding their missing L3 reports in December of 2021 and January and February of 2022. Public agency lobbyist employers who are eligible to file quarterly L5 reports in lieu of filing a yearly L3 report were also sent reminders regarding their missing L3 or L5 reports in December of 2021 and January and February of 2022. Then on March 14th, 2022, PDC emailed warning letters to lobbyist employers regarding their missing L3 reports for 2021 and public agency lobbyist employers regarding their missing L3 or L5 reports. On April 18th of 2022, PDC staff mailed and emailed hearing notices to lobbyist employers regarding their missing L3 reports for 2021, including the option to resolve their case by submitting the missing report online and mailing a signed statement of understanding or SOU and a $100 civil penalty payment to the PDC, postmarked no later than May 9th, 2022. PDC staff also reached out to the L5 eligible public agency lobbyist employers in late March and early April and was able to assist them in filing their missing L3 or L5 reports. As a result, the L5 eligible lobbyist employers were not sent hearing notices for today's BAP. The resolved cases report for lobbyist employers L3 reports that is appended to the brief enforcement hearing case list, also known as the GE case list, shows the cases that PDC staff have resolved prior to today's hearing through an SOU or closed administratively. The remaining lobbyist employer cases are grouped into categories on the brief enforcement hearing case list based on similar fact patterns. And I will note there's been one addition to the resolved cases report, Commissioner Isserlis, since we sent you this. It was Progreso Latino Progress actually resolved their case before the date of the hearing. So we've moved them down to the resolved cases report. And I can send you an update of that for your records if you'd like.
No, I see that on the list. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And I would just like to add one quick note to the overview. The warnings were emailed and mailed to the lobbyist employers. I point that out because that is something that we take the extra step to do. We do mail them as well as email. And we'll go into our Teams and phone and written participation now. I will take Sheena from SEIU first. She's first on my docket. And sorry, this is PDC case 107108 against SEIU 775 Benefits Group. The PDC staff is alleging that the respondent violated RCW 4217A 630 by failing to timely file the L3 report that was due by February 28th of 2022. There are no priors for this respondent, and they did file their L3 prior to the hearing. There was no SOU, and the base penalty is anywhere from $0 to $150 at this time. And if you have any questions, I'm available.
Thank you, Tabitha. Ms. Tomar, is that how you pronounce your last name? I saw you raise your right hand earlier, but I'm going to need to re-swear you in because I was only swearing, and this is just a formality. We want to make sure we follow all the rules. Do you affirm or swear under penalty of perjury that the testimony you will give in this matter is the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I swear.
All right. So what say you?
Well, thank you. Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. First and foremost, thank you for the opportunity to participate in today's hearing. My name is Sheena Tomar. I'm the Government and Community Relations Director at SEIU 775 Benefits Group. I'm primarily here today to take accountability for the late filing of my employer's L3 report for 2021. I am the entire legislative department, and I missed the February 28th filing deadline in the midst of lobbying during session. And the physical letters that were mailed, they were mailed to our work office in downtown Seattle, and our work structure is now remote. We have limited staffing, and it was just this Monday that I received the scanned copies. In terms of the emails, reminders that were sent, they're sent to disclosure at my SEIU 775benefits.org, and that's not an email that I was actively monitoring at the time, so it is also my responsibility for having missed those. The steps I have taken to correct this, any emails that come to that account, I've already cleared it with my organization. I can have those forwarded to my work email so that we can kind of avoid those issues in the future. It's the first time we've had lobbying kind of experience. So I want to be here to make sure that I can ameliorate the situation and get back on the right track and accept responsibility and the consequences. So that ends my testimony. If there are any questions.
I appreciate it. And I really appreciate the fact that you, on behalf of your organization, accepted a responsibility and accountability in these days of COVID and remote working and all of just what you described. It's often difficult to manage some of those communication pieces. I do need to find, however, that you didn't file the report on time. And so in the matter of case number 107-108,
Guilty. Sorry. I was waiting for the gavel drop.
Violation of RCW 40A 17A 630 for failing to file failing to timely file the annual lobbyist employer report. But since your testimony was positive and you accepted accountability, I am going to suspend the fine on the basis that you don't have any further transgressions in the next 4 years. If you come back before this body in the next 4 years, the fine will become unsuspended and you'll face the wrath probably of someone else. So I appreciate what you do and thank you for attending today.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Nancy, I just want to clarify. So we're assessing the penalty of 150 and then suspending 150?
Correct.
Okay.
With the assumption that no further transgressions in the next 4 years occur.
So we're on probation. Don't violate probationary period. Understood.
I'm sure with the what you've put in place now that we won't be seeing you again.
And the fear of God of the emails and letters and being here today. I think combined, we're on the path to recovery. I really do appreciate that. Thank you.
All right. Take care. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So next on the phone, we have Gary Smith from Independent Business Association. And Gary, you'll be able to use *6 to unmute yourself. And I'll give my spiel and then you'll be sworn in. So this is PDC case 107156 against Independent Business Association. PDC staff alleges that the respondent violated RCW 4217A 630 by failing to file the L3 or lobbyist employer's annual report that was due no later than February 28th, 2022. There are no prior violations for this respondent. They failed to file the L3 prior to the start of this hearing, and there is no SOU. And I'm available if you have, the base penalty, is $250 in these instances. So I'm available if you have any questions, Nancy.
And remind me of the gentleman's name who's on the phone. All I see is a phone number.
Oh, yes, it's Gary Smith.
All right. Mr. Smith, would you please raise your right hand?
Yes.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. What would you like to say on your behalf?
Well, thank you for the hearing. I failed to file the report, unfortunately, because I couldn't figure out how to do an L3 electronically. Maybe my age is showing. My first computer training was in 1960 using punch cards and a mainframe. Things have changed a bit since then. I tried many times. I went to the PDC's page on how to file an L3. It didn't work for me. Spent several hours trying to do so. What I found when I was attempting to do this, how to file a C3, but that's not the same as an L3, so I didn't do that. While I'm reasonably proficient with IT, I just couldn't get the PDC site to work for me at all.
Mr. You're breaking
the
the last sentence.
L3 on a PDF to deliver it to the office and told I cannot do that. I guess I look at the situation, the IRS prefers that we file our taxes electronically, but they still allow paper filings. I heard in the introduction that the agency actually called people in state agencies that were delinquent and helped them, but I never got such a call. I propose that my penance be to help the PDC improve their L3 filing page so people like me can actually achieve the filing of an L3.
Okay. Well, first, let me say that we have incredibly helpful customer service folks at the PDC, and I had hoped that you would have picked up the phone and called them, because I bet with their assistance you could have figured out how to get this L3 filed properly and promptly. But be that as it may, we do require that these things be filed electronically. And do you think you could get this done in the next 30 days if someone from the customer service department could talk to you on the phone and help you through it?
I'd be eager to do so.
Well, I'm going to suggest that you get in contact with them. They're very helpful people. They've helped many friends of mine with some complicated matters in filing something even a little more complicated than an L3. So this is, I didn't even know they had computers back in 1960, sir. I'm just joking. But I do remember I remember what punch cards are. So let's do this. I'm going to find that there is, in case number 107156, I am going to find that the record does support a violation of RCW 4017A 630 for failing to timely file the annual lobbyist employer report L3 for the calendar year. This is for 2021, right, Tabitha?
Correct.
Okay. I just was looking at my notes. Given that my advice to Mr. Smith is to get in contact with the PDC and get their assistance in getting this filed. If that is timely completed within 30 days from today's date, I'm going to impose the base penalty of $250. But if you get it done within 30 days, sir, I will suspend the filing. And hopefully once you get it done right the first time, we won't be seeing you anymore on these dockets in the future.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Also, the same stipulation will apply to everyone today. So just so there's a record in case I forget to mention it, if there's a suspended fine or any fine imposed, you have to stay clean for 4 years. All right, so Mr. Smith, give the folks a call and they'll help you through it, I'm sure, and it'll get done in record time, I'm sure.
Thank you very much. You
bet. Take care.
Commissioner Isserles, I just want to confirm for the record, you're suspending not just the filing, but the whole 250 if he files within 30 days and no further violations.
Yeah,
for 4 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It puts the burden on him to contact the staff to help him through that.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, and one last participation was written, and you stated that you've already read through it, so I'll just put it into the record. This is PDC case 107133, Washington against Washington Census Alliance Action Fund. They have no priors. PDC staff is alleging that they violated RCW 4217A 630 for failing to timely file the L3 or the annual lobbyist employer report that was due by February 28th of 2022. There are no priors for this respondent. They did file the L3 prior to the start of the hearing, and there is no SOU in place. And they had submitted written participation as they were not able to attend today. The base penalty here would be $0 to $150, and I'm available if you have any questions.
Unfortunately, this is another one of those email mix-ups, which continue to plague us, and I wish there was a way we could wave a wand and make that all go away, but we can't. So since these folks were nice enough to provide some written testimony, and they have filed their report before the hearing, I will find that there is a violation in case number 107133. The record does support it, and I will impose a penalty of $150 and suspend all of it with the usual caveats.
Perfect, thank you. I'm gonna pass the torch to Jordan for the next group.
All right. And we should mention, Mr. Smith, if you would like, you don't have to stick around for the whole meeting, or the whole. There we go.
Okay.
Didn't want him to hold on forever. All right, so I'm going to be doing the lobbyist employers no priors, so they'll kind of all be done in a block. So this is going to be PDC cases 107159 Lease Lock, 17123 Velican Incorporated, and 107120 Bellevue Chamber of Commerce. Staff is alleging that these respondents violated RCW 4217A 630 by failing to file or timely file the annual lobbyist employer report for 2021. This report was due to be filed with the PDC no later than February 28th, 2022. These individuals did file their reports before the hearing, but we did not receive an SOU or a payment at all. They do not have any prior violations. None of these individuals were able to attend the hearing, and none of them responded to our communications, with the exception of Velican Incorporated, who was told that even though they had filed their report, they still needed to either do the SOU or it would still be going to hearing. Staff recommends that you find a violation of RCW 4217A 630 against these respondents for failing to timely file the L3 report, and then assess an appropriate penalty in accordance with WAC 390-37-143 for a filer with no prior violations. That would be $150.
Jordan, can you tell me the dates that each of these entities filed their reports? Was it yesterday or was it a while ago?
I'm going to have to check on that real quick. I don't have those numbers right at the top of my head, but it'll just take me a moment.
I will say it wasn't very recent because I had them on the list for a while in this.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they responded in a timely manner.
Yeah, they did file, not excessively long after we sent out our notices, but we, with the exception of Velican, we haven't heard anything back from any of them, to my knowledge.
Anything else to add, Jordan?
No, I don't think so. No.
Well, on the basis that they weren't dragged kicking and screaming into filing this the day before the hearing and causing additional and unnecessary work for the staff, I will find as to these three matters, 107159, 107123, and 107120, that the record does support a violation of RCW 4217A.630 for failure to timely file the annual lobbyist report. Apparently, sometimes, occasionally things slip through the cracks, but since these folks at least from the record we have before us today, filed soon after receiving the notice that they had neglected to file in a timely manner, I will impose the penalty of $150 in each of those cases and suspend the full amount of the penalty with the assumption that no further violations occur within the next 4 years.
Sounds good to me. And now it looks like we're going to Tabitha Blacksmith.
Can I ask a question? So are the reason that these are broken up between Jordan and Tabitha just that's who the cases were assigned to? Or is there something?
So
No,
she's
we're
going to
just-
be
The difference here?
We're just taking turns to kind of that way nobody has to get practice for Jordan, and then also to, relieve us from having to one person to read the whole thing.
Okay,
But sometimes like, for example, Cushery is mine, and that's further down the list. So I just took that one because it's a single case and I've been helping them. But it kind of in group enforcements, it's difficult to just have the person whose case it is because they're all grouped together by who filed, who didn't file, who has priors, who doesn't have priors. The grouping's a little different.
My only other question is the hearings that we just concluded, the 3 hearings, lobbyist employers, no prior violations. Oh, sorry, my bad. I read the wrong word. These people have not filed. There we go. That's the difference.
Well, the next group, yeah, they failed to file and they're not participating, so they have a different base penalty. Yeah.
Okay.
So this next group, it looks like there's 10 of them. One of them did get resolved earlier, and then also Independent Business Association has already been heard, so that leaves us with 9 cases. These are lobbyist employers with no prior violations who failed to file the L3 report before the hearing. I'm going to read off the case number and the name of the group, and then I'll get into the allegation. So there's Education Reform Now Advocacy, case 107146. Black Lives Matter, Seattle King County, case 107122. Common Sense Media, case 107140. Palo Alto Networks, case 107099. ThyssenKrupp Elevator, case 107115. Washington Beverage Association, case 107130. Checkpoint Software, case 107136. Western States Hydrogen Alliance, case 107139. And Lavley USA Incorporated, case 107158. PDC staff is alleging that these lobbyist employers violated RCW 4217A630 by failing to file the annual lobbyist employer report, or L3 report, for 2021. This report was due to be filed with the PDC no later than February 28th, 2022, and disclosing lobbying activity for their contract lobbyists and their company in the previous calendar year of 2021. As I noted, these folks don't have a prior violation. They have not filed the report by the date of the hearing. They're, with the exception of the one we heard earlier, they're not participating today. So staff is recommending that you find a violation of RCW 4217A630 against this group for failing to file the L3 report and assess an appropriate penalty in accordance with WAC 390-37143 for a filer with no prior violations who failed to file the L3 report by the date of the hearing, and that base penalty amount is $250. I'm available for any questions.
So the ones that have been resolved in this grouping are 107156. That's the gentleman that we heard from earlier. Is that correct?
Correct.
And then
Progresso.
Latino did file before the hearing.
Yeah, and they submitted a statement of understanding. We just weren't able to accept it until they filed. So
Okay, okay. So as to the 9 remaining case numbers, and do you want me to go through them each, or do you have a sufficient record to know which 9 I'll be referring to?
I have a record here.
Okay. As to those 9 matters for which no one has appeared either in writing or in person, I will find that the record supports a violation of RCW 4217A 630 for failing to timely file the annual lobbyist report L3 for the calendar year 2021. And as to each of those 9 cases, I am going to assess a penalty in the amount of $250 if these 9 entities file their report within 90, strike that. If they file their report within 30 days, I will suspend $100 of that. So $200, suspend $100 if they file within 30 days. If they don't file within 30 days, the full amount of the penalty will be assessed. And all of that, of course, means no further transgressions in the next 4 years.
Can I just clarify, Nancy? Did you say 250 and then 200, or was...
I meant 50, sorry.
Okay.
The base penalty of 250, suspend 100.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you for catching that.
Okay, and the next one is mine as well. The next case is for the Cushery, and it's PDC case number 107111, and they have 1 prior violation and have not filed the L3 report before the date of the hearing. I will note that they did make an attempt. They submitted a statement of understanding and payment, but we received it after the deadline, and we had to return it. And they also, let's see, but they did file the report. So there was some attempt made, just wasn't successful. And then I'm going to go ahead and read the allegation here. Staff is alleging that the Cushery violated RCW 4217A 630 by failing to timely file the annual lobbyist employer report, or L3 report, for 2021. This report was due to be filed with the PDC no later than February 28th, 2022, disclosing lobbying activity for their contract lobbyists and their company in the previous calendar year of 2021. They did file the missing report before the day of the hearing. They have 1 prior violation, and they're not participating in the hearing today. So staff is recommending that you find a violation of RCW 4217A 630 against the Cushery for failing to timely file the L3 report and assess an appropriate penalty in accordance with WAC 390-37-143 for a filer with 1 prior violation who filed the L3 report before the date of the hearing, and that base penalty amount is $300. I'm available for questions, Commissioner.
Tabitha, with respect to the prior violation, do you know what the penalty assessed was, and was it paid?
Let's see here. It looks like it was a $500 penalty. There were 2 years worth of filings, but the reports have not been filed, but the penalty was paid. They did try to file one of them. The L3 report for 2019, which was one of the 2 reports, is saved but not submitted. I did email and call them on May 13th, but I haven't received a response. So I'm not sure what's going on with the prior reports.
Just to clarify, Chair Isserlis, the $500 would have been $250 per report.
Yes,
so,
thank you.
So they've got 2 years prior that haven't been filed. The penalties were assessed but not paid. There appears to be some attempt to file 2019, even though they hit the save button but not the submit button.
Kind of. They did pay the penalty. It's
just
the two reports are not filed yet. One saved and the other one hasn't been attempted yet, as far as I can
And
tell.
I will tell you, Chair Isserlis, that this actually happens to a lot of them because they think they go in and they enter the compensation and then they see the names on the tabs of the other things and they're like, I don't have any of that stuff. And they don't go into the tab. And those are required. They default to yes and requiring additional information. So when they hit submit to PDC, they think it submits a lot of times, but really it bounces into saved. It does not give them an error message or anything. It's a flaw that I've asked to have addressed, and it's on a list.
On the proverbial list? Okay.
Yes.
Well, yikes. What we want to do is incentivize people to comply with the law, not punish them. And since at least, maybe not this year, but at least in prior years, it may be because we have some lingering responsibility because of a computer quirk that people may be not misled, but they may think they've complied when they maybe haven't because it doesn't prompt them to do something more. So I wish I knew what the cushery does. Anybody have any idea? It's a great name. So
I would imagine they're something to do with the marijuana industry.
Like cannabis, maybe.
okay, all right.
They are cannabis.
Not that that matters to me at all, but like I said, the most important thing for these hearings is to incentivize people to follow the rules and get it right. And so since this stands on its own, it doesn't have any companions in the category. As to case 107111, and in an effort to nudge them along to compliance, I will find that the record does support a violation of RCW 4217A 630 for failure to timely file the annual lobbyist report for calendar year 2021. And just because this one stands on its own, I'm going to try to get creative. I appreciate that they've paid the prior penalties, but I really want to urge them to complete the reports. And it doesn't sound like at least 2019 is going to require a whole lot of effort except to go in and click the rest of the tabs that will then allow it to be submitted properly. So I'm going to impose the base penalty of $300. And if they can figure out how to get 2021 and the 2 prior years completed within 30 days, I will suspend half of that. So $150. And next year, if I'm doing this, I'll remember the name, the cushery, and I might not be as benevolent. So I'm just trying to do something nice here. I mean, the more we can incentivize people to get a hold of our public, our customer service people. I don't know why I couldn't say that word earlier. The customer service folks, and get them to comply with the law so that everything's accurate. That's the goal here.
Thank you.
And Commissioner Isserlis, it is me up next. This is Tabitha Townsend. We're going to be doing the lobbyist employers with 1 prior violation who failed to file the L3 report before the hearing. So I will read them together. And we have PDC case 107160 for Motor Vehicle Software Corp. and 107126 for Violet Power. PDC staff is alleging that these lobbyist employers violated RCW 4217A 630 for failing to file the annual lobbyist employer report, or L3 report, by February 28th, 2022, Both have one prior violation. No SOU was received, and the report was not filed. The base penalty is $500 in these instances. And I'm available if you have any questions.
Were prior penalties paid?
Um,
No, the reports
So-
weren't. Or were the,
Yeah.
well, start with this, were the prior reports filed even though late?
yes, so Violet Powers' prior violation was actually resolved through an SOU, so they didn't go to hearing last time. They took advantage of the SOU in that case. The Motor Vehicle Software Corp, their prior has the L3 filed for 2020, but the $150 penalty was not paid. So both have a little bit different background to their violations, and you can find separately on each view.
Yeah, and I think I'm going to.
Okay.
So let's start with 107-160 Motor Vehicle Software Corporation. And that's the one you said has not paid the penalty?
Correct.
And is the prior report filed?
Yes.
Albeit late. Okay.
Yes.
So we have they got 2 strikes. My daughters play my granddaughters play softball. So as to that matter, 107-160, I will find the record supports a violation of RCW 4217A 630 for failing to timely file the annual lobbyist report for 2021. Because of the prior violation, am going to impose the base penalty of $500. I will suspend 300 of that if they file within 30 days. If not, the full penalty stands.
Okay. Perfect.
And no prior violations for 4 years?
All of these have that.
All of them. Okay,
Every
thank you.
case. That should be the standard language in any of these orders, I think, going forward.
It is.
And as to Violet Power 107-126, you said, and these things all run together, I'm sorry. They did sign an SOU?
No, they turned in an SOU for their prior violation.
Here. Okay.
Mhm.
And did they pay the $100?
Yes. They
Okay.
paid that 100 and filed their report to get out of a hearing on the case that would have been before the commission last year.
Okay. In that case, 107-126, I will find the record does support a violation of RCW 4217A 630 for failing to timely file the annual lobbyist report for 2021. The circumstances are a little different for Violet Power than they were for the prior case. So they tried to do the right thing last year, and I want to encourage them to do the right thing this year. So I know the base penalty is $500. I will impose a fine of $300 and suspend 200 of that if they get their report filed in the next 30 days.
Perfect. Thank you, Chair Isabella.
Violet Power sounds like probably a small organization that may have some, I don't know what they are, but I love the name.
And now back to Jordan.
All right, so pardon me. This is going to be lobbyist employers with 2 prior violations who failed to file their L3 report before the hearing. And in this case, you only got the one. It is Equal Rights Washington, PDC case number 107147. Staff is alleging that this respondent violated RCW 4217A 630 by failing to file or timely file the annual lobbyist employer report for 2021. This report was due no later than February 28th, 2022. They have not filed the missing L3 report before today's hearing. They have 2 prior violations for PDC cases 91642 and 9. Pardon me. Oh, we have. Oh no, sorry. 91642 and 64921. All the same numbers in a different order. Threw me off there for a second. They did not respond to the hearing notice or provide any information to PDC staff. Staff recommends you find a violation of RCW 4217A 630 for failing to file or timely file an L3 report and assess an appropriate penalty in accordance with WAC 390-37-143 for filing with 2 prior violations who failed to file the L3 report by the date of the hearing. This base penalty would be $1,000.
As to the 2 previous penalties, have they responded at all?
In case 91642, the L3 has not been filed and the $500 penalty has not been paid. It's actually in collections. And then 64921 was resolved via SOU.
What's the email address you have for this organization? Because it has a fairly extensive list on their board of directors. And I'm just wondering if it's a mammoth communication fail.
Yeah, so it looks like Monisha at equalrightswashington.org.
Okay, that's the chair of their organization. At least that's what the website says.
Yeah.
Oh, Well, what was the penalty in the earlier cases, Jordan? 500?
Yeah, it looks like the most recent one was 500 for the second violation. The first violation resolved via SOU, so that would have been $100 for the SOU.
Okay. Let's do this. As to 107, 147, I'll find the record does support a violation of RCW 4217A 630 for failing to timely file the annual lobbyist employer report for 2021. I'm concerned, this organization is an important organization that has a fairly extensive board of directors, and obviously you're communicating with the chair. That on their website indicates that the woman that Monisha is the chair. I'm just wondering if there's some alternative way to get the attention of these folks, but it might be to impose the fine of $1,000.
It is worth noting we did mail a hearing notice to them. Though it looks like the address we had on file that they provided wasn't. We got it bounced. The mailing address was invalid in some way.
Okay.
But it is on them to ensure their address is correct and up to date.
I agree. So I'll impose the full base penalty. And I will suspend half of that if they get this year's, or 2021's report in within 30 days and they pay any outstanding penalties and have any prior years reports filed within that same 30 days. And then I'm just going to ask you to do one additional personal favor for me. See if you can find a phone number for somebody and call them up and tell them that this is a pretty hefty fine and that, I'd rather they put their money to good use instead of paying fines to the PDC. For a small organization like that, that's not a good use of their money. So if you could just try and find a way to communicate with them. I don't even know if their phone number is on their website, but
we'll do our best.
Here it is, 206-324-2570.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that again? 206?
206-324-2570.
I was just making a note of it to check what we have on file to that.
Yeah, and the website they list is info@equalrightswashington.org.
Yeah.
And their address, where's West Harrison Street in Seattle? I never even heard of it.
I
It's
haven't
down
either.
somewhere because the zip code's 98119. So anyway, I would much prefer that they use their money to do the good work that people donate to them for. So, all right. That's the end of that.
That's
Yep.
the end. So I'll stop the recording once we officially adjourn.
What does it mean when you close something administratively, the last one for Habitat for Humanity?
So there could have been a technical issue that caused them to be on the list in the first place. Sometimes that technical issue is their lobbyists left at the beginning of 2020, but didn't correct their contract for 2020 or 2021. Those kinds of things happen. And they contacted us right away. And so we're able to correct the records. And in those cases, then the filing obligation was never supposed to be there, because if the lobbyist had done what they were supposed to do, the employer would not have had the obligation.
In the case of this particular case, they actually filed their L3 roughly, I think, the morning we actually sent out the emails, before we even sent out the emails. So just kind of one of those things where, like, they were never served the hearing notice before they filed, so we just closed it.
Oh, I like that. Okay.
They got lucky, in other words.
Yeah.
Now that they're employing someone with ESP.
So Tabitha Townsend, back to the case that you mentioned where the case was saved but not submitted because the person didn't click along on the tabs.
Well, I can't say 100% that that's what happened, but that happens a lot. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. We're gonna put that on my list of things to. Not, I can't fix it, trust me. But if there's some way that we can nudge somebody who does have the ability to fix it, that would be great.
Yeah, and a lot of times what I've told these people, is just make sure after you hit submit that, because they see their screen, right? And they could see if they were looking that it's in saved. It's not in submitted.
Yeah, but in my mind, saved might be submitted. And I remember when I filed my F1 this year, I clicked through and I had, and I just say, I thought I did it right. And I actually double checked with Kim to make sure I had done it right, because I said, I don't want my name on the front page of the newspaper that, the enforcer can't even figure out the rules. So.
Okay.
And I actually, are we still on recording?
Yes.
Let's take this off the recording, then I'll tell you.
Okay. Do you want to adjourn us?
I'll adjourn the meeting at 3:02 p.m. Yes.
Perfect. I'll stop recording.